All righty. Thanks very much, ladies and gentlemen, for attending this evening. Our apologies for a little bit of a technical glitch to start off tonight. So instead of a 7 p.m. start, we had a bit of a long anthem, and it's a 7:11 start tonight for our Point of the Plate session, which is our mentorship presentation for 2024. We've kind of dubbed this our Mentorship Masterclass. I'm Jeff Chipley, and I have the honor and privilege of being the communications portfolio lead on the Baseball Alberta Umpires Committee. Joining me this evening is two members of our Mentorship Task Force with the Baseball Alberta Umpires Committee, Brad Johnston from Calgary, Alberta, as well as Mark Wright from Edmonton, Alberta. Both Brad and Mark are level 4, level 5 umpires in the Baseball Alberta, Baseball Canada system, and are well-esteemed umpires within our national program, with both of them being selected to officiate in national championships this year. Brad attending the 2024 Senior Men's National in Ontario, and Mark being selected to attend the 2024 Baseball Canada Cup in beautiful Fort McMurray, Alberta, later on this year. Welcome, guys, to the Point of the Plate, and take her away.
Thanks a bunch, Jeff. Appreciate that. Everybody hear me okay? Jeff, yes, no? Yeah? Sweet. It's kind of funny. I put you guys over on this monitor, so even as I look over, it's kind of cool to see my eyeballs move. Sort of like I'm tracking a pitch. I can hear the laughter from my basement. Anyways, welcome, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us this evening. Like Jeff said, my name is Brad Johnston. I'm going to take you through the first half of this presentation this evening, and then I'll turn it over to Mark to sort of bring it home. We get the chance to talk to everybody about Baseball Alberta's mentorship program this evening, and just a little bit about the goals, how it works, and hopefully maybe take some questions a little bit later, and just basically be able to present an opportunity really for umpires at really any point in the program to get a little bit extra help along the way, a little bit extra guidance, and also sort of create us a bit of a supportive relationship throughout the program. So mentorship truly isn't just for a new umpire. It really is for everybody throughout the program, and it just maybe looks a little bit different as you progress through. So with that, let's get rolling here. So I guess we'll start with this. The three of us that kind of handle the mentorship stuff are myself, and you've got my contact info there on the left-hand side of the screen. In the middle is Marcus Erlandson, which a number of you folks might know. He's up in Fort McMurray. If anybody's joining us from Fort Mac, almost guaranteed you've been around the diamond, you know Marcus, and we already heard instruction from Mark Wright, our colleague here on the line, and he'll join us a little bit later to talk to you a little bit more about this. And he's from the Edmonton area, and you see the contact info for all of us there. So hopefully you've had a chance to jot that down if you need it. But if I'm about to move the screen here, so if you need that info a little bit later, there'll be an opportunity to ask for it. So goals for tonight. Number one, we want to provide a background on how mentorship works, how mentorship applies to the Baseball Alberta Umpires Program, and I think we'll be able to do that with relative ease for everybody. Also, we'd like to just talk a little bit about how associations can help, or not help. I mean, how an association can implement a mentorship program for their own umpires, and sort of how this one works and how you can connect with us to do exactly that. And then obviously just the benefits of mentorship to your association, and just overall the benefits of creating and establishing a mentorship relationship with another umpire to help you along. For what it's worth, I mean, I started umpiring at 13. It's been a great experience, but if I think back, I had mentors throughout the way. I still have mentors that I look up to, even at this stage of my umpire career. And most of those relationships developed naturally. We're trying to give that a little bit of a poke and get some of those relationships a bit of a head start. But we hope that they obviously continue to develop naturally, because obviously the guys like myself and Mark and Jeff and Marcus can't be on every diamond everywhere. So it does work a much more wide-ranging approach. So the portfolio itself, just the vision and the mission. So the vision is to create a mentorship program that supports umpires throughout the 1 to 3 pathway. I know I've talked about the 4 and 5 pathway as well, or touched on it this evening already, but really the focus here is 1 to 3. We know that mentorship does continue on into the upper levels of the program, but the idea really of creating this initiative is to sort of create an opportunity for a good start. And so that focuses a little bit more on the 1 to 3 pathway, and then that mentorship relationship can continue on as umpires develop through the program into our 4 and 5 system. And then also to just what the second half talks about there is to basically create that strong foundation so that we have an identification system for future national program umpires, and to be able to continue to develop folks that are interested in doing exactly that. So that's what the mission boils down, or the vision boils down to. And the mission there is to build and lead an effective mentorship program that provides positive improvement for all umpires at all levels of development. So sort of the long-winded way of saying we want to help everybody wherever they're looking for it, to the point that we physically can. So gives you a bit of an idea. So how the system works. First off, communication is a big piece of this. Statistically, in the past, the majority of our mentorships have been done by level 4 and 5 umpires, and we want to do our best to try and connect those 4s and 5s to the various local associations in the areas that they live. Obviously, we have 4 and 5 umpires just naturally scattered across the province based on their personal lives and where they need to live. So we want to make sure that we've got those folks connected back to their local groups. In some cases, they have that connection already. In other cases, they may have moved into that area maybe after their development years, and they maybe don't have that local connection as well. So we want to be able to provide that. That's part of what Marcus does for us, the gentleman who can't be with us this evening. Secondly, we want hopefully, I'm not sure if we have some representation from some of the Baseball Alberta member associations on the line with us, but those assigners and umpire coordinators locally, we'd love it if you folks were a part of this program as well. And being a part of that program doesn't necessarily mean doing much work. It really just means if you have an umpire in your system that you think would benefit from mentorship, that you take the chance to reach out to one of us, let us know, or you can conversely even reaching out to the Baseball Alberta office to get in touch with one of us, and we can do our best to make that connection, provide you with a name, maybe reach out to that umpire on your behalf, and just generally facilitate that sort of communication. But without knowing there's a need, we can't necessarily tackle it. So it's kind of a two-way street in that form. If you do have some level 3s locally, by all means, we can use those folks to provide mentorships as well. There's a ton of knowledge in that grouping of folks in the program. So they're also a great person to not only act in the mentorship role, but also take on or be a mentee as well. So they're a possibility if they're interested and feel comfortable with taking on that mentor role. So just wanted to throw that out there. Part of the other main communication piece, and before I talk about methods, I'll throw this out there. Obviously, we have a number of level 1 and 2 clinics running throughout the province. They've started over a month ago, and they'll continue not well past, but certainly past the opening pitches throughout the province. On one of the first slides in every one of those 1 and 2 presentations, those instructors typically put their names up no differently than Marcus, and I were on this presentation. So if you're an umpire that's thinking, hey, I could maybe benefit from mentorship, and you don't necessarily have the quick access to this system, even though these point of the plates do get posted to YouTube, and I think they're available on Spotify as well. But Jeff can correct me on that a little bit later, and make sure we've got the details of that stuff. But if we need if you need a point of contact, those guys and girls are usually a great connection point to to eventually access a mentorship relationship if you're interested. Um, and then, conversely, we, like I say, we want the students to also say like, hey, this is something I am kind of liking, and it's okay to go and tell that instructor in a clinic like, hey, I think I'd like to learn a little bit more after this clinic, and then we can facilitate that connection point too. We've also used our instructors in those to come to us and say, hey, I had a couple of umpires in my clinic on the weekend that might be great, and then we can make that connection on the back end. So lots of different networking opportunities at play here to make sure that we get the people in the spaces that we need them, and we get those that want some additional help or some additional guidance, or just want to continue to improve, that they have that opportunity. So um, talking about the methods, there's a couple of methods. I'll put them all up on the slide here. So basically, we've got an off the field system, which is essentially I show up to watch Mark and Jeff umpire a ball game, and I sit off in the stands. I maybe chat with them in the dressing room before the game, or at the car, or wherever they may be getting ready. Um, Help them out as they go on the field, answer some questions, just generally chat about it, make sure they have a plan, make sure they know kind of how the plate meeting is going to work, and how they're going to move into playing ball. And then I sort of sit back, take a seat in the stands, maybe write a few notes for them, and just some talking points, some quick hit items to maybe chat between innings if they need to talk, or if they're good, just sit back and let them run their ball game, and we can always chat after, and to be there in sort of a supportive role. Conversely, we can also do this on the field. Hypothetically, let's say I'm mentoring Mark, and maybe I go out and I do the bases for Mark, and I'm there to support him through the game. I'm there to help him out with whatever funny calls come up, or just generally little thoughts as the game goes, or I work my own ball game, he works his. I kind of keep some mental notes, and we chat about it after the game. But the idea is that I'm there to work the ball game with him, to be a part of his sort of experience out there, and to just generally bring him along as in a way that works for him. The third one up there talks about the hybrid. Not the most common, but we've certainly had scenarios where there's maybe two younger umpires. Typically, is where this happens, and maybe on a house league game, and maybe we're out there to sort of help them through the plate meeting on that maybe first or second game ever, and then maybe we're out on the bases. Maybe it's a U11 game, and we're pointing them around a little bit, and just making some in-game adjustments, if you will, and that can sometimes be really beneficial. But in that case, the mentor is not there to make any calls, not there to make any decisions. Maybe provide a bit of help, make sure that things continue to roll as they need to, but that's about it. And then lastly, I put the idea of formal and informal mentorship up there, and just to really briefly touch on it. It's not something we touched on last year or in previous years, to my knowledge, and that's just that we're sort of arranging kind of what I would call a formal mentorship, where someone's reached out and we've gone and arranged a scenario where that person can have a mentor. But I guess what I want to recognize is that we know that informal mentorship happens all the time. It happens between two teenage umpires that just happen to become friends over the course of the season, that maybe go to different schools and didn't really know each other, and just end up working a few ball games together. I know I certainly had a few of those situations when I was 14, 15, 16, where I worked with the same two or three umpires a lot more than some of the others, and all of a sudden I was sort of coming up with somebody, and I almost had a buddy, if you will. So that's also a form of mentorship, and I don't think it's something that we need to ignore. And that mentorship sort of relationship, that friendship can create confidence, can create a more enjoyable experience. And at the end of the day, when we're trying to retain umpires for an overall program, really we want our umpires out there having a good time, having some success with that, making some friends along the way, and having a generally positive experience. So all of these things go to it. We often talk about mentorship as just when you got help and when you were taught a few things, and it's not always that in a box. It can be just that creation of making a new friend out there and having 5 or 6 games, or 10 or 15 games with that person, and maybe a couple of them throughout the season. So creating that enjoyable experience for a young umpire is a really, really valuable thing that I don't want to lose sight of. Additionally, we've got, I guess I'll just the last thing up here for this slide, and that's our Umpire Academy that we're also working on this year. It's not specifically in the mentorship portfolio, but it does have a connection. You may have heard about this in your clinics or through the social media or any other place where you get your baseball info. But Baseball Alberta is running an Umpire Academy this year. The target market is roughly 16 to roughly 16 and up, anyways, for an age group. It involves 3 tournaments where you're getting top-notch instruction from a senior course conductor, one of the guys that comes out and teaches the super clinic for the 4s and 5s at the beginning of the year. And it's a program that's designed to create some really valuable mentorship opportunities with some of the top umpires in our system, and for some folks that are maybe interested in kind of fast tracking their umpire career, if that's something that they're interested in. So maybe it's someone that's been at it a couple years, has enjoyed it, but is looking to take that next step, but is kind of in that, say, 16, 18, 20 style age category. And the last thing before I leave this slide, it's not up here, but it's a point worth making, is one of the other things that mentorship can assist with is Baseball Board is also working towards developing its female umpire program. So any opportunity we have to bring some of those women and girls along, we're looking for that chance to support them in their umpire development and make sure that they have positive experiences on the diamond as well. So a lot of info in that one, but I'll kind of get through these as quickly as I can. So I talked about the off-field stuff. Basically, I'm just gonna, since I already really did this, I just want to hit the advantages and the disadvantages. So the advantages is you get 2 mentorships for the price of 1. Obviously, if I'm here to watch Jeff and Mark do a ball game, I get to see them both at once. They get to have easy access to me and ask their questions, and we can focus on developing 2 umpires rather than just going out to see one person all the time. The disadvantages is it can feel a little intimidating. Feels a bit like an evaluation sometimes. It's not, and we actually kind of guide mentors when they ask the question about, what do I need to cover. You need to cover what comes up. You need to cover the stuff that will support and develop that umpire that happened in that game, that will contribute to their positive experience. And if there's little fix it things along the way, by all means mention them, but not necessarily a curriculum in the formal sense. Looking at the on-field stuff, again, I'll hit the advantages and the disadvantages. The advantages, we get another umpire on the field, which is always helpful. For ever, umpires have been hard to find, and it gets better and then it gets worse, and we have ebbs and flows in our umpire numbers. But certainly having a mentor on the diamond helps. You get that extra body out there to get the ball game worked, and you've got sort of some instant feedback right there at the end of an inning or in the middle of a play or a big decision. If it's maybe a funny one where there's some base awards or something like that, you get that instant learning opportunity from that other person. So that can be quite valuable. The disadvantage is that if I'm, again, let's say I'm working with Mark as his mentor on the diamond, I still have to work the game, and I can't just focus on Mark. I have to make sure that I cover my own responsibilities. So it stands to reason that I might miss a thing or two that Mark's done or not done. So something to consider. As far as the hybrid one goes, again, kind of the advantages and the disadvantages. On the field, again, we get 2 mentorships for the price of 1. You get that instant coaching. With the base umpire, you can kind of be just behind them and helping them out along the way. The disadvantages, can be kind of tough to get the teams bought into it. 9 times out of 10, it's fantastic and there's no issue. But sometimes it's sort of, why is that extra person out there? Or how come, if there's obviously a mistake, how come you're not jumping in? And it's because we want those umpires to work through that and have those experiences. So it can be a little bit difficult to get full buy-in. And even from mentors, don't necessarily love doing the mentorships this way. But like I said earlier, usually the best time for this is on people's first or second games ever. And we can get out there and just sort of help them along until they feel comfortable on the diamond. So overall, our benefits, things I've kind of hit before. We get better umpires. We get our games covered. And that's across the board, whether you're, a house league program or the Bail. We're getting umpires in the diamond, and mentorship is happening at all those levels. Obviously, we retain our umpires. Like I said earlier, a positive experience creates somebody that wants to come back and have another positive experience. So then when eventually that sort of funny thing comes up, or that rough ball game, it doesn't seem as bad because you've had a bank of positive experiences to pull from. Whoops, I think we missed a couple of bullets there. Okay. Mark, I think we're jumping into you here for mentoring at level 1. You can take it away.
All right. Thanks, Brad. So yeah, these next few slides are kind of um, things to focus on for the different levels of umpires. They have obviously level 1s and level 2s have different experiences. They've had more years umpiring and more clinics and all that kind of stuff. So first off, just for the level 1s, the objective of mentoring at level 1, these are mostly first year umpires. We want to build confidence and enthusiasm, as Brad mentioned. Retention. So if they're confident, they're enthusiastic about umpiring, they're hopefully going to come back that next year. Next point there, we want them to have some fun out there. Baseball is a fun game, and umpiring can be fun too. Sometimes it's not, but we want them to have fun out there, and again, that helps out the retention. Making them feel successful, appreciated, and making them ultimately making them want to come back. And we don't want them to have a bad experience and then say, nope, I'm done, I don't want to umpire anymore, and now we've lost them after 1 year of umpiring. So some focus things more so if there's any mentors on this. Again, these are level 1 umpires. They've been to 1 clinic, maybe 2. They haven't learned everything there is to learn. They don't even know all the rules yet. So things to focus on. Make sure they have a strong voice. They're the ones in charge. And they're using their voice appropriately. And along with that comes, making signals, making proper signals, looking good on the field. Because a lot of game management comes from, looking like you know what you're doing, using your voice, using your signals, all that kind of stuff. Plate stance, obviously, we want them in the right position for that. We don't want them getting hurt. And then ultimately, also, we want them to be able to make the calls correctly. So things like head height, slot position, being locked in, all that kind of stuff. If they're on the bases, being in the proper starting position prior to a pitch. So if there's no runners on, or depending on the situation, if there's the different starting positions with runners on base. And then just moving. A lot of new umpires don't want to move on the field, so we want to encourage them to get into a good position so that they can see, the things they need to see for the different plays, and then ultimately pace of game, keeping things moving, so we're not running into time limits or anything like that, and just ultimately a good quick game is a lot more enjoyable for everybody, including the umpires, than being out there for 3 hours and everything just dragging along. So some best opportunities for level 1s, obviously they're not working a lot of rep baseball, so house league games, house league tournaments. If you happen to have, 11UA hosting weekends, or if you're using these umpires in your 11U AA, or maybe even your 13U AA, now that that's being locally assigned, those would be excellent opportunities to bring a mentor out, especially the tournaments, or if you have multiple, games going over one night. I know in, Sherwood Park, for example, they have multiple diamonds going out at once, and we can send out a couple of mentors and they get all the games covered out there. So you have something like that, those are excellent opportunities to get mentorships. So I think next we're moving on to the level 2s. So obviously they have a bit more experience in their second, third, fourth, so on year umpiring. So now we're going to focus more on some of the technical aspects, appearance, getting the proper equipment, communicating with partners. So there's more responsibilities with that. Again, we're still gonna we don't want them to get lazy with their mechanics, so we're gonna still work on their signals and all that kind of stuff. And maybe now there's more advanced signals that they are aware of, so we can start to incorporate those movements on the diamond. So now they've been to a level 2 clinic, they're now aware of certain rotations that they might not learn in a level 1 clinic. So now we want to enforce going to the right place, doing those rotations, making sure everything's covered where they need to. Rules. So, as you go through that level 2 system, those 3 years, you learn more and more rules for those. So making sure that those are being properly applied and whatnot. And then, game management stuff that, in this case, more so preventative. A lot of game management comes from experience, but there are tips and tricks that as mentors we can provide these umpires that can help them out with that. So again, focus, communication, pre-pitch. So, we have a runner on first base. Where do I need to go? I'm going to communicate that to my partner. My partner should be communicating that to me. Now we actually have that rotation occurring. So how do I properly communicate that I'm going where I need to go, or I'm not going to rotate because something else happened? So how proper communication between partners. At level 2, we start to divide responsibilities a bit more. So making sure the right umpire is is covering the correct areas. So fly balls, plays at third, that kind of stuff. Timing. This is a big emphasis at all levels, from level 1 all the way up to, we do our bullpens at Super Clinic, and we're still getting drilled on timing. So this could be a focus at any point here. So timing is important for all umpires. Getting proper angles. So we often talk about angle over distance, so making sure you can see what you need to see. Proper footwork, so that we're not, turning our back to the baseball and that kind of stuff and not losing it. And then again, game management stuff, tips and tricks on how to preventative officiate, and that also goes along with the pace of play stuff. So getting everybody to hustle and all that kind of stuff. So some more focus. So as I said, these level 2s, they're in their second, third, fourth year of umpiring. They've gone through multiple level 2 clinics potentially, where they've learned all these different rules. A lot of them are now working that 13U or 15U level where we have balks. So maybe they've never called a balk before. So we might have to reinforce what was taught in the clinics. And when you see a balk, do this. Or base awards, properly awarding base awards. That might be more. That's at all levels, but you could also make the judgment at 11U as well. But obstruction and interference, definitely things that are covered in level 2. And you're not exactly sure. You might be sitting in that classroom and Brad goes on and on about obstruction and what it is, but until you actually see it on the field, you might not know what to do or what it actually might look like. So, until you see it, and then, as a mentor, you can help say, that was obstruction. This is how you deal with it, kind of thing. Yeah. So then again, opportunities. So level 2, they'll still be working those higher level, like the 15U house league, 18U house league. Those are excellent opportunities to do mentorship. Tier 1 games, Yaga, ERBL. I'm sure there's leagues in Calgary and other areas that are similar to that. Lower level rep tournaments. We did last year. We also started mentorship opportunities at provincial championships, some of those lower level provincial championships, where we basically had an off-field umpire just sit there all weekend and do mentorship. So if you're hosting one of those as well, those are excellent opportunities to get mentorships done. And then again, these are your level 2, so they're likely the ones you're using in your 11U and 13U AA hosting weekends. And if you know you have one of those coming up, those are also excellent opportunities to get some mentorships done. So kind of the next steps. So we have this presentation. What are we as the committee planning on doing? And then some stuff you guys can do to help us out. So make sure your UIC or assigner or whoever is handling umpires in your association, sure that information is up to date with the Baseball Alberta office, as that's who we go through to get that information. Baseball Alberta, most likely us, the mentorship committee will be reaching out to the local associations and be providing a list of level 4 and 5 umpires that are in your area. And our hope with that is, one, those level 4 or 5 umpires reach out to their local associations and say, hey, I live in the area. Do you have any opportunities for mentorship? And then vice versa. We hope that the UIC or the assigner or whoever's in charge of umpires reaches out to these level 4 or 5 umpires. And we just want to make that connection between those two groups, as that seems to have been an issue in the past. And then, again, just identify mentorship opportunities within your association. So you have an 11U AA hosting weekend coming up. Maybe reach out to one or two of those level 4 or 5 umpires and see if you can get something to work there. So I think this is our last slide here. So in terms of documents, so I'm going to start off by saying we know a lot more mentorships are happening in this province. These are just the documented ones that we have. So last year we had 36 total mentors. So 36 different people did at least one mentorship, which is up from 2022, which was our goal, but it's not a huge gain. The total number of mentorships, documented mentorships, again, we know more happening, but total documented was 133, up from 109. And the total number of people that actually got mentored was 97, which is up from 88. And these mentorships covered 7 of the 8 Baseball Alberta zones. Ultimately, our goal is to reach all 8 of 8 and then continuing to improve these numbers this year over last year. And I think that's what we have.
One more. It's just the form.
Oh, yes. Right. So the form, for those who might be doing the mentorships, the form is on the Baseball Alberta website. There's the link there. That's kind of what the form looks like. Marcus has done a lot of work with this form, both in terms of accessibility and just making it easier to use. So hopefully that becomes less of an obstacle in terms of getting these mentorships documented, so that we can, show that we're doing mentorships.
That rounds us out.
Yeah, I think with that, we have any questions?
So thanks very much, Brad and Mark, for that overview in terms of our mentorship program, not only what we've done in the past, but what we're kind of moving forward with in the future. For those of you that are joining us live this evening, if you have any questions for Brad or Mark, please feel free to enter them into the chat and we'll get to as many as we can this evening. We have had one question come in, guys, and it's a question about what actually happens when someone actually goes to mentor a young umpire. So if someone shows up to watch a young umpire's game, how will they know that that person is there to mentor them or provide them with feedback?
Yeah, it's a good question. And we've certainly had or heard of the odd situation where somebody that's there to mentor doesn't really say much before the game, and that's obviously not what we want. So what should be happening is that mentor will get to the park early, just like the umpires are, and they'll make their way to find them. They'll introduce themselves. They should be in something identifiable, maybe a Baseball Alberta logo or a Baseball Canada logo, something that says, hey, I'm not just any other person you might see around the ball diamond. So short answer is the expectation is that the people that are mentoring will head to the umpires and say hello and kind of let them know that they're there to support them that evening.
Mark, any other additional comments on that, or has Brad kind of nailed it?
I think Brad's got that. Yeah.
Heck, we're like
It's the
April
only.
4th, Brad, and you've actually made a correct call for once. So good
I'm
job.
done for the year. I'm done.
Yeah, another question kind of as a follow-up. I know we had talked about the stats of mentorship from 2023, and I know this is a common question that comes up at our annual super clinic. So if we know that mentorships are happening organically and have been occurring for several years, but we haven't been documenting them, why do we even care that they get documented?
It's a good question, and one I've had more than a couple conversations about. So I mean, I guess the first and easiest answer to that is we at the end of the day we need to be able to show that yeah we're out there and we're doing these. But more than that, I would say that it's not just a hey look at us, look at how good we did. I think more than that, what is important is we also identify the mentees. We identify through that mentorship who we've been talking to, and get an idea of if that umpire is interested in moving forward in the program. We can track informally, but with a bit of a formal flair, how Jeff Chipley moves through the umpire program by creating some positive relationships with the umpires in your neck of the woods. So that's probably the biggest thing, because eventually everybody kind of grows up in this system, and we can use these records to go back and say like, yeah, we did see Jeff Chipley as he was coming along, and yeah, he'd be a great invitation to the super clinic. When we're looking at those threes to come along, or whether or not a two should be jumping up to the three program maybe a little bit early. There's it's a great sort of talent identifier is the big one. So it allows us to have those records, but also we want to be able to say that now we're supporting these associations, we're supporting these umpires. In some cases it may be tough for a new umpire or a younger umpire to get that support. So we want people to know that yeah, this is happening. So it's important that those mentors document them. It doesn't take long. The form's pretty quick, and we just need to pop those in there, so that we can have a bit of a record of the impact that we're making.
And I think the benefits for the mentees is also there. So I'm not sure if we're at the point yet, but the goal is to have the form automatically. So once you hit submit on that report, the goal is to automatically have it sent to the mentee as well. Right now, I think it's just sent to the mentor, and then we kind of expect them to forward it on. But it's a good thing for the mentee to look back on. So I got mentored by Brad last week. I have a game tonight, and I can look back and Brad said, I should improve my head height and something else, and those are the things I could work on today, because a lot of these umpires aren't going to have a pen and paper handy with them when we do that post game debrief. So it's just another way that these mentees can uh, you know remember what was actually talked about, because it's not really helpful if I do a mentorship and then my next game's not for another 2 weeks and then I just completely forget what was talked about. So I think there's that benefit as well.
Yeah, so much like the health and safety side or any sort of government interaction, if it's not written down, it didn't happen. So we need to have that paperwork follow up. We do have another question that has came in here for Mark, but prior to that, if anyone does have any questions, please enter them into the chat this evening, and we'll grill both Mark and Brad as to everything and anything mentorship related. But Mark, the question that I have for you comes from one of our assigners with one of our local associations, and they talk about that. You talk about all these various tournaments and games and level 4 and 5 umpires being available to come out and mentor. But in this specific case, this assigner is a part of a association in a very rural and remote area that doesn't have any level 4 and 5 umpires, but they do have the odd Baseball Alberta hosting weekend or a house league tournament that could be a good mentorship opportunity. How do they go about, or what is their options on getting tied into the mentorship side of things?
So that's a good question. So I think the first one, Brad kind of mentioned it. If you it doesn't necessarily have to be a level 4 or 5 umpire. If you have a level 3 umpire that you know of and you trust them to do a mentorship, that's perfectly fine as well. Or even if you have, an experienced level 2 who's he's taken that level, he just kind of stopped after he didn't advance to the level 3 program, but he's been a level 2 for 6, 7, 8 years or something like that. Even that's somebody who could um, potentially be a mentor. We have our contact information there. I think we might be putting it back up, or if not, hopefully you grabbed it. So reach out to one of us. Hopefully we can help send somebody your way. I know, we're working with Graham in the provincial championships, especially those lower level ones always seem to be in rural areas. So, I think there was a couple last year where we sent out some people kind of as off-field mentors for those provincial championships. And if you don't happen to get our information, reach out to the Baseball Alberta office. They have our contact info. They can connect us to you and so on and so forth.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And those mentorships on the rural side of things is very key because it allows us to identify those young up and coming umpires, and whether they're young or new to the game or a little bit more older, it allows us to see, hey, who are those people that are moving up the ranks in our house leagues and our local associations that we can potentially highlight to our provincial assigners to start utilizing them in AA or A games that are tied in with Baseball Alberta, whether it's league games or provincial games, so that rather than sending a car full of umpires from Edmonton or Calgary to somewhere in East Central Alberta, we're utilizing the local talent that has kind of earned their stripes through the local program.
Absolutely.
Another question that's kind of came through is from one of our longtime mentors, Brad, Gavin McConnell. Gavin's asking, can you provide a little bit more insight as to when you first show up to the diamond and introduce yourself to the umpires? Is there potentially some other folks that you may need to introduce yourselves to, especially that young 12 or 13-year-old umpire that might be accompanied by their parents or somebody like that?
Yeah, it's for sure. It's a great point. Keep in mind you're not necessarily a familiar face in that first game. So for sure, if mom and dad are nearby, or mom or dad, or whoever's happens to be with that umpire, that's a great person to connect with. It's also I talked about informal mentorship. It's also I've had games where I've sat with the parents of an umpire, and I've been able to talk baseball with them and get them informed a little bit further on what Baseball Alberta does, what various local leagues around the province do, and it's a great interaction opportunity. So and it can make your 6 or 7 innings go by a little bit more comfortable as well. So just a great opportunity to meet somebody new and create that opportunity to also have them promote umpiring to their young umpire on the way home or between games or what have you. Additionally, it's never a bad idea to go and say hello to the coaches too, just so that they know you're there. Any sort of team personnel or league personnel that might be there, just so you're not a stranger. It's easy sometimes to feel like, what's that person doing, and that obviously we're definitely an out in the open type of system here, and there's no secrets. We're there to help these umpires along, and anybody that's at the ball game or part of the ball game should have an idea of why we're there and what the intent is. So yeah, and really anybody and everybody that wants to know, there really shouldn't be too many secrets, but certainly the mom, dad, guardian, whoever of the umpires, if in fact they're a little younger, and certainly coaches and scorekeepers, that sort of thing. It's always handy.
Yeah, no, it's very key to always have that sort of communication with the various participants in the game, because I know even in my own mentorship experience, show up to a diamond in Central Alberta at a house league level and the coaches are going, "Oh no, what happened? What did we do wrong?" And it's
Yeah.
not that the coaches or the players or the parents are doing anything wrong. It's we're here to support and help out our up and coming umpires and also supporting our teams, and that very much how we on the mentorship side want to build those connections between ourselves and our senior level umpires, our younger umpires, our less experienced umpires, the provincial assigners that will help those teams, especially in rural areas, kind of connect them to umpires that can officiate at a quality level.
For sure.
We are kind of getting close to the end of our session for this evening. So if you have any kind of last minute questions, please feel free to put them into the chat. With that, we might have some questions that come up after the session's over, or individuals might have questions that they might have for the instructors that instructed their local level 1 and 2 clinic. And so if someone was unable to catch the names of the instructors that they taught in the clinic, or want to just kind of reach out to those folks, how would they get their info if they have a question, or better yet, if they really enjoyed the instruction that they got in their clinic, how would they go about potentially having that instructor come and mentor them during a baseball game?
I can take that. So there's a number of different ways. I can certainly put my hand up to facilitate that. I have that ability to get that information and make that connection. Certainly, if I were that instructor, I mean, by all means, I put my own hand up because my information is also available on the Baseball Alberta umpire committee's page as well. So I'm fairly easy to get in touch with if you're not taking my info off the screen right now. But conversely, just essentially through the Baseball Alberta office, they can typically make those connections as well. Our clinicians are all coordinated through the committee, and we can, as long as we eventually hear that somebody needs to or wants to get in touch with someone, we can take your contact info and pass it along to them so they can reach out to you. Is typically the way it would happen, and we go from there. So it's never too far.
The UIC might also know, because the clinicians are supposed to reach out to them, and theoretically they're all there on the clinic day as well. So they may also know who the contact, at least for the lead clinician.
Yeah, certainly. That's a good point too. Whoever set up your clinic in your local area is usually who the contact was. So there's certainly more than one possibility. Just ask a few questions.
Yeah, no, for sure. And kind of the last question that we have this evening is from one of our up and coming umpires within our program. And they say, we've talked a lot about mentorship kind of at that level 1 and 2 standpoint, but we have a bunch of umpires within our program that are trying to move up into level 3 or the national program, level 4 and 5, and trying to get that invitation to Super Clinic or attend a national like either one of you guys are this year. Is there a way that they can even benefit from the mentorship aspect of things?
Maybe I'll start this, and Mark, feel free to chip in as I go. But I sort of alluded to this right off the top tonight, where mentorship really is something that occurs all the way through the program. Um, I have I have umpires that I've mentored through the 3 program that are now attending Super Clinic on a regular basis. One that just got their first national assignment this year, which is real exciting. Um, and conversely, I have umpires in the program that I look to for additional guidance and support. Um, but in order to get in touch with those people, I agree. Sometimes it can be a little bit tough. So again, if it's a matter of reaching out to the committee if you can through the office. I'm happy to connect folks as well. I really look at much of this portfolio as being a facilitator and a connector, because it really is that. I mean, there's a program to run and some information to get out there and some stats to collect, but more than anything, it's connecting the people that that want to be connected to, and I want to continue to develop. So I know certainly I'm sure you two guys would agree, um, continuing to do tournaments, continuing to get out there and work hard, connects you to those people, and connects you to the sort of more senior umpires in your space. And as you continue to do that, it's a matter of showing that you've got that positive attitude and you want to continue to move ahead. And you'll start to get noticed. It happens really quite organically, but it can be sometimes tough to crack that egg. So I think really the first thing is get in touch with any one of us in the program. It's, just make sure it's known that, hey, we'd like to move ahead. We'd like to continue to get some of these games or be watched, and that mentorship happens a little bit differently because you kind of already know what you're doing. You've got the first few steps, and now it's starting to fine tune, and that's where we can come out and really start to help you out. And probably the biggest thing, I mean, that's what happens all the time. But I also alluded to it earlier, but there's also this year we have the Umpire Academy coming. So a great opportunity. The Umpire Academy is also maybe we can pop it in the chat or something, but the Umpire Academy is available through the website. There's an application form to fill out. Like I said earlier, the target market is 16 and older. So we're looking for umpires that are interested in developing, but more than anything, you get access to the best of the best in Alberta, and over the course of an entire season. So the instruction is top notch. The pace of development is accelerated, and but also in line with what the umpire needs. So another great opportunity.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And we did just include the information on the Baseball Alberta Umpire Academy in the chat. But if you are listening to this kind of on YouTube or Spotify once it's uploaded, please feel free to go to the Baseball Alberta Umpires page at baseballalberta.com. And under the Umpires tab right at the bottom, you'll see Umpires Academy. With that, Brad, Mark, any kind of final thoughts in terms of mentorship? Any kind of last sales pitch? Anyone you want to give a shout out to in terms of who's been a good inspiration for you on a mentorship side of things? It's your guys' chance to kind of take her away.
Mark, you want to go first, or you want me to go first?
You can go ahead.
Okay, more than anything, I think the big thanks go out to those umpires that have shown an interest in being mentored. Your folks are the future of our program, and we really appreciate your willingness to learn, listen, and just continue on with the program. A very close second is the umpires that get out there and do the mentoring. These guys, they're not paid. There's nothing in it for them other than the intrinsic value of continuing to develop the program for the province, and that's phenomenal. So there's some real key people in Alberta that rack those numbers up, and that's unbelievable. But I think more than anything, it's a matter of, we know that even what we don't capture is still valuable. and a real recognition of that. So that's I guess what I leave it with, is every little bit counts, and it can go a real long way. You don't see it right off the hop, but it really can.
I agree with Brad. I think the one thing I want to say is just the mentorship, whether it's documented or not, it's going to make our program better. We're going to have better umpires. They're going to progress. They're going to go to national championships, and other provinces are going to notice and say those Alberta umpires are really good. And that's something we can be proud of. Is when we get to that point, we're consistently turning out really good umpires, and at every national championship we're sending them to. Even just staying here and having coaches and parents say the umpiring was really good today, and that's building off of years of mentorship and all that kind of stuff. So I think it's just the benefit is a better program for all of us.
Absolutely. And I know I can speak for all three of us in that we have each been lucky enough to have mentors in our umpiring journey that have allowed us to achieve things that we couldn't have even imagined when we moved forward. And I know there's a few of them on the call this evening. But with that, I don't see any more questions in the chat, guys. It's been an absolute pleasure this evening to hear a little bit more on our mentorship program from the Mentorship Task Force. Well, 2/3 of it, Brad Johnston and Mark Wright. Marcus Erlinson just sent me a quick text. Somehow he's near Wandering River and is listening in to this, but obviously he's not going to be able to speak like you guys. But for those of you that have joined us this evening, thank you very much for joining us live. For those of you that are catching this on Spotify or YouTube, please feel free to reach out if you have any questions or need any additional info in regards to the mentorship program of the Baseball Alberta Umpires Committee. Our next point of the plate will be advertised on the Baseball Alberta social media web pages for umpires, the Baseball Alberta Umpires Facebook page, and the Baseball Alberta Umpires Instagram account. So keep a keen eye on that for our next events and further information as it relates to the Baseball Alberta Umpire Program. For my colleagues Mark Wright and Brad Johnston, I'm Jeff Chipley. Have a great night, and thank you for listening.